Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, no matter where you are in the world. Welcome to our webinar today, which is the second section of our series, Booster Your College Application, deep into the competitions. In our previous session, we explored major writing competitions. Today, our focus was shifted to STEM competitions. So I will be your host for this session. My name is Chung, and I'm a consultant for college preparation and enrichment at InAmerica. I hold a master's degree from Columbia University and have over a decade of experience in educational management, project management. Now, let's introduce our two distinguished guest speakers. First, we have Peter Guy, a PhD graduate from Purdue University. He's an esteemed STEM competition coach and tutor with a track record of guiding numerous students to honors. Our second guest is Marcus Lewis, who serves as Associate Director of College Admission and Athletics at InAmerica. Some of you may already be very familiar with him, as he is known for his extensive experience in college and high school planning, boasting over 15 years in the field. Marcus, too, is a proud alumni of Columbia University. Okay, let's start our webinar today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'll just kind of introduce what we're going to talk about today. So Peter's going to do most of the talking, actually, because he knows, honestly, more about STEM competitions than I do, which is why he's here. But we have three kind of main points. So we're going to talk first about what are most of the prestigious STEM competitions. I'll emphasize the list that Peter's going to give you today is far from exhaustive. There's thousands of competitions if when you count like local, regional, international, etc. We're just going to highlight some of the best known ones. We're also going to talk about who should sign up for the competitions and how to prepare and plan for the competitions, and especially how InAmerica can help you do so. But I'll turn it over to Peter now for that list of competitions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter, and it's really nice seeing everyone here. So I will start with the math competition and then go on to the physics competition and computer science. And eventually I'll introduce about what to consider when we're preparing for exams like such, and also some of the journal and publication opportunities as well. Okay. So for math, we have AMC, and AMC is going to be most prestigious one. It's going to be used as selection to the International Math Olympiad for the U.S. national team, and it's going to cover multiple levels of selection. And that's where we see most of the students will participate in. Of course, you're going to have more of those regional competition as well, such as American League of Math and also International Trigonometry Challenge. Also, local universities such as MIT, Stanford, or Harvard will host their own math competitions. And for the physics, F is equal to MA, that is going to be the competition mainly used for International Olympiad national team selection process as well. Is going to be on the equivalent level to AMC. So that is where we see most of students participate in. Physics bowl, Sir Isaac Newton exams, these are all very prestigious regional competitions. And Sir Isaac Newton exams is one held by very, very prestigious universities, and is being held locally. For computer science, I'll introduce a format a little bit later. Computer science can be a little bit different due to the robustness of you can participate online. The USA Computing Olympiad is the epiphany of everything that people want to participate in, and that's how the USA computing national team is being selected through a local and a regional and the national level, and eventually they will have a camp selection as well. And then some other very notable one is first robotics competition, basically where a group of students will come together and build a robot to compete a theme or a task being given by the Association of Robotics every single year. And now I will start talking about each individual one. And the first one we're going to talk about is math, and then we're going to focus on our AMC exams. Okay. So for AMC, we're being grouped into AMC 8 and AMC 10 and 12, being geared towards different group of students. And of course, the problem will have different level of difficulties. AMC 8 are geared towards middle school levels, and AMC 10 and 12 are geared towards the high school levels. So normally students can register the exams by themselves, or normally very good high schools, they will always register students together. And the local school will be the one for the very local level of the exam. They will administer the exam. And the very high scoring students are going to be invited to the American Invitational Mathematical Examination, or people call it AIME. Okay. And then if you were to do very, very well on the AIME exam, it's going to pave you the step to participate in the United States of America Mathematical Olympiad. And if you were to score very, very high on the Olympiad, the National Olympiad, then the country will send you to an Olympic camp. And eventually they will select about 6 to 7 participants from the camp to participate in the International Mathematical Olympiad. And this is a very, very typical route that you will see throughout the entire US on very, very prestigious exams or competition exams, where the selection starts at a very local level, and then it moves on to a regional level, and then eventually will move on to a national level. So most of the students, they will start with the local level, and there will already be awards given from the local level, such as from the school and also from the association. And if you were to be able to score a high enough score, and you can say I participated in IME exams or even the United States of America Mathematical Olympiad, it will be a really good boost on your college application, as these are very internationally recognized, and it is very, very competitive to get a really good score in. So AMC is a national one, and we really have 25 multiple choice, and is a 25 multiple choice with a given allotted time of 40 minutes. And AMC 10 and 12 is going to be a little bit harder because it's geared towards grade 10 and grade 12. So you're going to have 25 questions and 75 minutes to complete, and they're all multiple choice. And the topic are limited to anything that is not calculus related. Okay. And the interesting point about the scoring point is that you will get 6 points correct for every correct answer that you answered. But if you leave the question unanswered, you will get some points as well. But if you answer the question incorrectly, you will not score any points at all. And normally there will be different levels of difficulty within the exams. So a very hard exam problems on AMC 8 could be served as a very entry-level exam questions for AMC 10 and 12. So you will see some sort of overlapping problems or questions between 8, 10, and 12. So what that means for our students is when you're preparing for the exam, right? Like for example, you're taking the AMC 8 exam this year, but if you were able to practice with AMC 10 or AMC 12, what that means is you can see some of the very hard questions in the AMC 8 to appear in the AMC 10 and AMC 12. So that will help you boost your score and also prepare for your future endeavors. And top scores, again, like I mentioned, there will be rewards given on the local level, and the college will take notice when you go to AIME, and if you're able to do very good, if you were to achieve a very good score on that. So the next thing I will talk about is going to be the Harvard MIT mathematics tournaments. So these are more of the local tournaments held by very prestigious universities, and of course, for example, competitions like this held by a very, very good universities. If you were to do really well on it, the university itself will take very, very high notice of competitions like these. Okay, because that's the one that they host all the time. Competitions like these, I laid out a schedule on the right, and then if you're more interested, I put down the link on the bottom right corner that you can go take a look. So the exam is administered twice a year compared to AMC, where it's being administered once a year. Okay. The difficulty level is going to be a lot more different compared to AMC. It's going to be a lot more harder. Okay, and you can see between the November exam and also the February exam, you're going to have different level of difficulty as well, given that the February exam is going to be a lot harder. Okay, and this is going to be a team tournament. So you will be a group of 4 to 6 students or 6 to 8 students, and you're going to be competing in a competition together, where US College is value collaboration and also cooperation very heavily versus individual contributions. Of course, that's still important. So they do allow individual registration if you cannot find 4 to 6 students to participate in a team together. However, you can only win individual awards when you're randomly paired with other students to form a 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 people team. And from the table on the right, you can also see that the exam time will be a lot longer, right? Normally, these type of exams, you have to take algebra, geometry, combinations, and also proof. So we're talking about this whole exam to last a whole day, basically. So this is how the very, very top mathematical competition held by very prestigious universities selects students. And now we're going to switch gear to our physics exam. So like I mentioned, during our EMC exam, how very, very large competition structure is selection from local level to regional level and to national level. And the FA School MA exam is structured just like that, to select participant to represent the US to participate in the International Physics Olympiad. So you have an entry-level exam. It's a very entry-level exam, and is a 75 minutes with 25 multiple choice. But you can see the breadth of works it will cover within the 75 minutes. We're talking about kinematics all the way to data analysis, and also there could be some electricity and magnetism as well. So what we're talking about this is a full physics course that will be normally covered during a first or second year in college, okay? But the concept they will be testing is rather more shallow. It won't cover as deep as a college course will, but it will cover a wide variety of topics. So to qualify for the US Physics Olympiad, you need around 14 to 18 points out of the 25 multiple choice. And if you were to do well within the USA Physics Olympiad, you'll be selected to participate for a chance to enter the international, to represent the US in the international physics. And now we're going to switch gear and we're going to talk about computer science for a little bit. So due to the robustness of the computer science, the fact that you can code online, these type of exams are held multiple times throughout the year, okay? However, there will be an in-person US Open tournament each year. Typically, it will be a little bit harder, and it will usually be around the springtime of the year. Okay, the leagues are separated into bronze, silver, gold, and also platinum. So all you have to do when you participate in an exam like this is you go online and select the group that you're participating in, and of course, different level are going to have different level of difficulties of the problem as well. The problem will be around total, they will give you a total of 3 problems. It will be scenario based. And then they will ask you to, based on the data being provided, and then give you about 3 to 5 hours. And the high score, and this time is going to be consistent high score, okay? Because of this exam being held multiple times throughout the years. If you want to participate in International Olympiad in informatics to represent the US, you must score very consistently through multiple exams throughout the year because of it's being held multiple times throughout the year, right? And the language that you can choose to use is C, C++, Java, and also Python. So every time you're done coding coding the problem, they will give you a testing set of data, and then you can use that to test how well your solution is. So the good thing about these is basically you will know your score immediately once you finish a problem. So this is a very unique competition compared to the rest of the competition because it's being held multiple times throughout the year, and you can enter as many times as you want to get as much practice as you.
Okay, so thank you for sharing this insights in those popular competitions that could showcase the students' STEM abilities. So who will sign up this competition? So Marcus, could you give us some your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I'll kind of talk about who should sign up and also why someone should sign up.
Mm-hmm.
So the who should sign up essentially is any student who is of age, obviously, and interested in STEM competitions. Peter gave a very thorough list. I wouldn't say that somebody who's interested necessarily in biology should, sign up for the computer science programs, for example, but somebody who's interested in computer science as a future absolutely should. Likewise, something like AMC is actually a good skill for pretty much anybody in the STEM field, whether you're computer science, whether you're engineering, whether you're, math, physics, whatever. But the rest of them, they're very they're designed for students who are showing advanced skills in their coursework. So essentially, you'd want to be good at what you're doing before you sign up for it. All that being said, though, there are competitions for all levels. So there's competitions that are less rigorous than the ones Peter highlighted. There's one I like, for example, called the Physics Photo Contest, which is usually in the spring, and it offers basically you take a photo of something in nature, or you make your own photo and you explain the science behind it. And it's a good kind of entry level STEM competition. So we have other competitions like that. So you don't have to be, the I don't know, next coming of Einstein or something. All that being said, though, all the competitions offer something for students. So I always like to think about this as, who should sign up from a college point of view. Anyone who wants to go to a rigorous college should sign up for them because they look good. But these things, the competitions will help you develop different skills. So research skills will come up from anything that's like an Olympiad or any kind of competition that requires you to create something. You can always find deeper interest in a field by actually doing some hard work in the field. So, there's students who maybe they think they like biology because it's their favorite subject in school. They get super involved with the competition. They find out they love biology, or conversely, that they're not that interested in it, and they sign up for a different competition and find that, physics wasn't their favorite subject in school, but they actually really like it when they get to the hands-on aspects of it. There's also secondary skills that you can develop. So, I wrote down a few of them here. The team-based ones certainly allow for collaboration and communication skills. I always emphasize this. All of the STEM competitions, with maybe the exception of like AMC, involve some other skills that aren't really associated with STEM. So writing, speaking, those kinds of skills that, you really need to function in the world. Even if you're, again, the most gifted scientist on the planet, you still need to be able to talk to people and write. But anyway, basically the other thing that you get from these is from that other aspect of things, which is not what do you get as a student for participating, but what do you get as an endpoint. So colleges really like to see this because they like to see that you are taking advantage of outside of the classroom opportunities. And these kind of competitions are just a super efficient way of saying, look, I've done this thing, especially these ones that are well known. A college can look at it and say, oh, wow, they participated in the AMC 12. That's great. I know what that is. Or they participated in the Bio Olympiad. Again, I know what that is. So it kind of demonstrates to a college that you actually have the interest that you are telling them you do. And then finally, of course, if you do win, it looks even better because a win at these, especially high level competitions, is incredibly rare and an incredible accomplishment that all colleges can be proud of, and all students and families, of course, should also be proud of.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it seems like everyone like interested should consider like one or two of these competitions, right? So I have another one question follow up. So what do you think is the best timeline for these competitions?
So the biggest thing with this, it's I like to think of college planning from how much time I have with a student. Some clients will come to me in junior year, and that gives me less time to work with them than a student who starts with us in 8th or 9th grade. So let's go with the kind of best case scenario, a student that I'm meeting as they enter high school or even younger. For that kind of student, I'd like to note that there are competitions that can be entered every single year. There's also competitions that can that are kind of designed for younger students. So example that Peter mentioned, AMC 8 is not designed for you to take in senior year. That being said, you should start early on these. There are other competitions that are actually designed for one entry that you would do as a kind of accumulation of your high school work. These are especially common at the really difficult science kind of fair type ones. So like Regeneron and a couple of those, you're supposed to have done a long form research project that may last, at least a year. But often a year and a half or 2 years. So those competitions you really need to decide that you want to do early to even have a chance of getting them done. Again, there are competitions also that take very little time that we could just sort of throw on to the spring of your junior year. Those are easier to do, obviously. That being said, I would still start those ones early. You don't want to ever just throw together something at the last minute. The other thing I would just note here, basically each year that you enter these, you can learn something to get to be a better student and a better contestant in the years to come. So if you enter something like the engineer girl competition early on in ninth grade, you don't do well with it. You know what to do next year in 10th grade based on your mistakes from that previous year. With an Olympiad, for example, most of the teams that end up winning those tournaments, they're not ninth graders, right? It takes years to accumulate that kind of knowledge. But the students who do well in those tend to have been on the team since ninth grade. So just as it would work with a sport, most basketball players don't start on the varsity team in ninth grade unless they're, young LeBron James or something like that. But the students who tend to win their competitions at high school levels tend to have been on the team for years and years. So basically what we want to do here, start early, focus on your research skills, and focus on it being kind of scaffolded. So you build up on each tier of what you do. The one thing I would note, even though I'm saying start early, there is such a thing as starting too late as well. A lot of the really prestigious competitions are designed for you to do in your senior year, and the like award part of it won't come out until after applications are in. So some of them have award deadlines or competition deadlines of February, and then they announce winners in like April, May, June. Those are still great to add to your application. It just won't show the win ahead of time. But the best thing with those ones is they often come with a lot of money. So they're still worth entering because you can get something, extremely lucrative out of it. Plus, especially the higher level ones, these are things that can be added to your resume for not just your college application, but your professional application, your graduate school application, et cetera.
Okay, thank you, Marcus, for sharing your invaluable insights of the timeline planning. So now students can better understand how to integrate these competitions through the application process. So let's dive into how to plan this competitions strategically. So Peter, could you please provide some advice on how students can prove their competition skills? I'm sorry, Peter, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. So building on to what Marcus have been talking about is, start early. Competition exams are something that you can cram for in a day or overnight. Like, like your calculus exams, a good teacher can help you cram overnight or a couple of days and get a really high grade off it. Competition exams, for example, I've been talking about AMC and also F is equal to MA exams. Those exams cover a large area of concepts that needs years of building of knowledge in order to accomplish that. Okay, so one way you can think about that is, your student is trying to build this giant building in his life, right? The taller you want the building to go, the larger the foundation must be. If you build a very small foundation and try to make the building go really, really tall, that's not going to happen. And the foundation work I'm talking about is not only related to STEM competitions, right? Or even the knowledge of the STEM knowledge. You also go back to what Marcus has been talking about, like the writing skill, the communication skill, because if it doesn't matter who you are, you have to talk to people, you have to collaborate with people for you to achieve something together, right? Also, for students is finding interest and stay engaged with a given subjects. Sure, STEM competition is an amazing way for you to learn new knowledge and also give yourself a challenge. But I don't necessarily advise students to participate in every single competition exam out there just to beef up their college application. Because if you want to show college what you're willing to do eventually, you want to show you're a well-rounded person, but you want to show the edge that you have and what you want to do when you're applying for a major. And of course, practice that always applies to any exams, even as a competition exams. So past exams are always available along with their solutions. So use them to your best ability to practice them. Okay. And the next bullet point talks about building knowledge base, and also a lot of these AMC exams, there are always multiple solutions to a single problem. I mean, that's how they spark creative thinking, right? If there's only one solution to one problem, maybe the final solution is the same, but there are different ways of approaching the problem. So that's why it's so important for students to see the breadth of subjects at a very young age, so they can see how to approach a problem via different ways. And this is also important as let students to see why the subject are created for a reason. So for example, what is calculus created for, right? Like Sir Isaac Newton created calculus in order to solve physics. Calculus isn't just created for, to make people's life miserable, right? Like linear algebra, sure, that's not a subject people always talk about in high school, but that is used to simplify nonlinear problems so you can control them with a motor, right? So that's why linear algebra is being developed. The important thing behind the competition and these subjects are to tell the students, hey, look, these are what these subjects can solve in your real life world, versus giving them a page of exam and tell them to write down the solution, because they will lose their interest and they won't understand why they're doing the stuff they're doing. So by covering a wide range of subjects, and also the students knows what's the capability and the usefulness of each subject, it will spark their interest. And also when they see a problem, they know how to arrive the problem from different solutions. And that will help them to boost up their score as well, because they don't have a fixed mindset. They don't have a fixed mindset. They will have a growth mindset with a very different ways of approaching difficulties. And also when they go to college, they'll also bring the skills with them. And the last one is building up to what I've been talking about is don't fixate on the results, especially when you're a very young age. Like Marcus said, you're going to enter competition at a very young age to prepare yourself. You probably won't see that good of a grade because of, Rome isn't building a day, right? Like these very top scoring participants, it takes years of practice and also dedication to broaden their knowledge base in order to do what they achieved in their junior year or high school year, in their junior or senior year in high school. So these are the bias and also the competition skills I will give to students and also students.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing, Peter. So we've collected some audience questions today, and for time-wise, I will just choose one question for each of you. Okay, so the first question is for Marcus. Okay, so which do college admission officers care about?
Yeah, so this is a quality versus quantity question. It's a classic question I always get from my college admissions students. So the main thing for colleges is they want to see that you are taking the time that you have outside of the classroom to take advantage of opportunities. Colleges do recognize that, time is finite, right? So you have 3 months a year in summer, maybe some winter break, maybe some fall break, maybe some time after school. But they recognize that there is definitely a limit to what you can do. So I tend to think the rigor of the competition is worth a little bit more than the number of competitions for most students. However, if I have a student who, again, comes to me in junior year with practically nothing done, so they're an okay student, they haven't done anything beyond the classroom, then I might say, well, we really need a lot more of these things. So we do competitions and other things as well. But the biggest thing to consider here, competitions are just one small aspect of the total package that makes up college admissions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for sharing. So next question is for you, Peter. So what are some of the tips or strategies for effective team collaborations?
Yeah, so team collaboration is actually one of the best way to prepare for stuff like these, and it's highly valued by top colleges as well. And a lot of the competition that I talked about just now, actually you have to form a team for you to even participate in them. Otherwise, there are some category of awards that you're not eligible for. So, of course, finding friends who practice exams is a very good way. But normally, I will always advise students to reach out to their high school teachers or their teachers who are proficient in their math. Normally, the school will form a team like that by themselves. And then you will have a lot of people who are like-minded, like the students, and then they are able to collaborate and even compete amongst themselves for them to achieve a higher score.
Okay, so hold on you for like a minute. So do you have additional advice for our audience today?
Yeah, I do. So back to what we talked about just now, right? The approach I recommend in conquering these competitive exams, especially like Marcus mentioned, that if you do have time and then reach Marcus, start with Marcus and our school early, then I recommend approaching your increasing your foundational knowledge in the subjects they're interested in. But keep in mind one thing is all subjects are connected. There will not be a single subject standing alone out there with all their knowledge contained in one subject. There will always going to be intercommunication between subjects. So once you reach a certain height on a given subject, you must use other subjects' knowledge to support it for you to go higher within the subject that you're interested in. And also introduce them to as many subjects as early as possible. The students, well, go back to the analogy, right? Tall building require a very large foundation. So don't focus on one subject too high because it will require the support of other subjects for them to get better grade in the subject they're interested in once you reach a certain level. And solutions will come naturally to the students. Don't force the solution, especially on these AMC competitive exams. Although there's a pattern, there won't be a given set of problems that you can just keep practicing and then guarantee to have a good score. The students must have some sort of self-thinking capacity or capability for them to do very well on the exams like this. And my last exam to the students is always try new things. Something works, great. Something doesn't work, well, let's move on to the next thing. But you can say, I don't know if this will work or not. This will work in engineering, this will work in life in general. Yes and no are both good answers, and take one and move on. And I don't know is something I feel like the students should keep in the back of their mind that I should try out first before I say I don't know.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. So Marcus, would you also like to introduce some like final thoughts to our audience today?
Sure. Yeah, and Peter basically said everything I was going to say. So I'll kind of skip the pep talk stuff here and just note one thing. If you have any questions about how to do a competition, if a competition is good for you, if a competition is going to be rewarding or fulfilling, or just how to prepare for it, I would suggest just reaching out to somebody like myself, who can hook you up with somebody like Peter, and really make it a streamlined and easy process so that even a really rigorous competition like like the Olympiads that we talked about or like the AMCs can be much more approachable. So really nothing is actually as hard as it seems with a little bit of help.
Okay, great. So Marcus and Peter, so thank you so much for sharing your profound knowledge and insights today. So I'm confident that our audience now has a clearer understanding of how to plan for STEM competitions and enhance their chances to get admission to the top tier colleges by participating in these competitions. We'd also like to express our gratitude to our audience today. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.